All right. I will call the Board of Selectmen to order for Thursday, February 18th, 2021. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Baker issued an emergency order temporarily suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Public bodies otherwise governed by the open meeting law are temporarily relieved from the requirement that meetings be held in public places, open and physical access to the public, as long as measures are taken to ensure public access to the body's deliberations through adequate alternative means. This meeting will be broadcast live on Channel 8 and on Zoom. The public may participate remotely by following the call-in information at the bottom of the live broadcast screen. For the Zoom meeting information relating to remote participation, please contact Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager at atm@ayer.ma.us or 978-772-8220, extension 100, prior to the meeting. First thing I'd like to do is ask everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America
and
and
to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do we have any amendments to the agenda this evening?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Robert Pombran. Under the Department of Public Works report, item number 2, the MOA for wastewater discharge permit, Nasoya Foods, the Superintendent of Public Works and I are recommending that we table that for tonight, and we'll come back at a future meeting with that item.
Okay, thank you. Any other adjustments?
That's it. I don't have any
Make a
others.
motion that the agenda be approved as amended.
I will second. Roll call the vote. Select Person Livingston.
Yes.
Chair says aye. The agenda is approved as amended. We don't have any announcements for this evening, so I'll move on to public input if there's anyone here for public input. No? Okay. So the first item we have on our agenda is Alan Minoyan, Director of Community and Economic Development. Welcome, Alan.
My apologies.
That's
Good
okay.
evening. Good evening to all. Thank you very much.
I'll just, Mr. Chairman, introduce Alan. As everyone knows, we've asked Alan tonight, as the town recently celebrated a major milestone. We received several official citations from various elected officials. I know that State Senator Eldridge is with us tonight. And I asked Alan, as he's sort of been leading our 150th efforts, to present to the board. And normally, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have a big, event and meet in person. But for the purposes of tonight, and we prepared a shared screen, have Alan sort of just present each of the citations. Not going to read each of them in detail, and just say a few words about the 150th and plans for the future. And then just for the public, we will be, these citations are official property of the town of Ayer in the care of the select board. We'll be doing some online posts with these, and they'll be kept here at the town hall on display for the public for when we get open shortly. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll have Alan just say a few words and sort of present the citations.
Very good. Thank you very much, Robert. And I hope you all don't mind if I am joined by my friend, Dr. James Cook Ayer, right behind me there. He has his eye on all of us, so I thought it would be fitting tonight. Okay. Well, thank you, Robert. And yes, everyone, this year is in fact the sesquicentennial year, the 150th anniversary of the incorporation of the town of Ayer. And in fact, it was this past February the 14th, Sunday, which was our official birthday, if you will. And we'll just talk quickly later about a fascinating experience. Some of us had the opportunity to join together on Sunday. But yes, one of the important parts of this, and this is important for the future archives, of the sesquicentennial celebration. We have been really graced by a number of our public elected officials and such in providing us very thoughtfully with a number of proclamations, citations. And I think the first one, if we could show, I think, yeah, Carly has it set up there. And we are joined this evening by Senator Jamie Eldridge. And it was Jamie's staff person, Michael Carr, that really led the effort. So I think if it's all right, may I defer to you, Senator Eldridge, to speak to this. And there you can see it all, a magnificent resolution recognizing our sesquicentennial, and signed, by the President of the Senate, Clerk of the Senate, the new Speaker of the House, Ron Mariano, who I got to know well from some of my time in South Weymouth years ago, and the Clerk of the House, and then, of course, Senator Eldridge, Representative Harrington, and Representative Senna. Senator Eldridge, would you like to just say a few words?
Oh, sure, Alan. Thank you so much. Thank you to Robert Pontbrand and Carly Antonellis and the whole Ayer Board of Selectmen and all Ayer town officials and residents attending tonight's celebration and meeting. And as Alan said, was proud to shepherd this resolution through the Senate side and work with Representative Harrington and Representative Senna on the House side and drop it off to them, given that we're not having any in-person celebrations. And, I would just say, I'm just so proud to represent the town of Ayer. It's really exciting, the things that are going on there. I've seen, so many of you in downtown Ayer. It's some really exciting projects that are finally moving forward, and just find the people of Ayer just so friendly, so supportive, and just working on great things. I was just spoke a couple weekends back to the Ayer Women's March. So to think that a small town could have a women's march, obviously a virtual one, really speaks to the character and how active people are in town. So congratulations on this sesquicentennial. I worked hard to hopefully pronounce that correctly. And my fear, Alan, is you were going to ask me to read the resolution, because on the virtual screen, I can barely read it with my poor eyesight. So
Yes.
Congratulations and happy birthday, and glad to be with you all tonight. It's great to see you all.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next one, I believe, Carly, I think you have staged up. I believe maybe the Governor Baker's. Yes, and here we are. So again, this is wonderful that Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito also were very thoughtful in providing us with this citation, again, recognizing the town of Ayer's sesquicentennial. So we want to make sure everyone sees that. And again, this will be another proud part of our archival collection for the sesquicentennial. So we thank Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito for this one. We'll go on to the next one. And this is wonderful. And this is a really beautiful congressional proclamation from Congressional Representative Laurie Trahan. And again, we reached out to Laurie's office, and again, Laurie and all the, frankly, congressional representatives through the years have been so thoughtful to Ayer, supportive of Ayer in all we have done. So again, this is, I think, a really wonderful one as well from Congresswoman Trahan. And again, part of the collection. And I'll just say quickly, we had a wonderful Eagle Scout do a project this year. And when some of you can get back in Ayer at Great Hall on the stage, young Eagle Scout Will McDonald designed and created 2 beautiful display cases specifically for the sesquicentennial, and specifically so that we can place and display these type of archival materials. So these will be proudly placed, in that display cabinet. Now I'll say, this past Sunday, which was February the 14th. We had a few of us had an opportunity to have really a wonderful experience. And this was really, again, from the brilliance and idea and heart and devotion of Kevin Johnston of Town Hall, who said, Alan, USS Constitution, why don't we see if we can actually, raise the U.S. national ensign, the American flag on that day, as well as, and this was really cool, I think Selectman Hood and Chairman Copeland could say, we also flew the Town of Ayer sesquicentennial flag upon the Constitution aboard on Sunday as well. And we've put some videos out on that on Facebook and other stuff if you want to see it. But here is the official, again, citation from the Constitution, recognizing that on that day in history, it was the Town of Ayer and the USS Constitution. And I don't know, Carly, if you could just maybe switch the thing and I'll show them quickly. This is, in fact, this is the national ensign. And if you folks that are from Navy families, it's raised on the ship. It is, right, Janice? Yes, the national ensign. So this was the American flag that was, in fact, raised on the Constitution that day. It was presented to Chairman Copeland and Vice Chairman Hood that morning. And again, this is brought back to Ayer, part of the permanent collection. People will be looking at this 100 years from now when we are all gone. Okay, and again, it's something that creates that wonderful continuity of our heritage in the Town of Ayer. And finally, I'll just say, I don't know if any of you noticed, we did in fact also produce a video message event that is now on APAC and I believe is on social media. It's sort of our welcoming message from many Ayer notables, and came out pretty good for our first take at, doing something like that. I'll say this though, in my opinion, Select Board Member Livingston and sesquicentennial baby Charlie Schultz stole the show. Okay, both of their segments were really cool. That's why we had you on at the end. You are Bruce Springsteen. You're the closing act. This was the great crescendo. But again, if you have a chance, that video we put out because we knew we couldn't have a large assembly together. So that video was our, opportunity to send a message. And finally, yes, we hope into this year. It's still unpredictable. You cannot plan, sign contracts, and, try to put together large public events yet. But maybe, folks, as we get maybe into the fall, we will see. We're hoping we may be able to do something together, actually together assemble, in the year of 2021 for our sesquicentennial. If not, we are prepared to go forward with what we are branding, and watch how many towns and cities will steal this from. It's a great idea. We will be doing Ayer 150+1. Why not? Who said you can't do 150+1?
That's right.
And we will, in fact, in 2022, if that's the way it goes, oh yes, we will have the parades, and we will have a gala and a banquet, and we will have concerts, and all of it. And hopefully, we will be able to do this if all goes well in our community. And again, 50 and 100 years from now, they'll look back and they'll say, why did those people do that back? Why didn't they celebrate? And they'll say, what was going on in America in 2021? And that becomes part of our history. We should do a time
capsule and then put our masks in it.
Yes, actually, right? This is it.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward as Ayer always does. Ayer is indomitable, and we will go forward, not only do what we were going to do, we'll do it even better and bigger. So that's it, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity, Robert, and happy birthday to Ayer. And we got another 150 years to go anyway.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you all.
Nice job, Alan.
Yeah, great job.
And I must
Alan,
say, I have to commend Scott and Sean for the raising of the flag. I was very proud of them. Sorry I
we didn't
missed
screw it up, so we were happy.
I was very proud that neither one of you got strung up. I was like, oh, so you got
It didn't
salted.
show on the video.
Yeah, you got salted the other night.
Yeah. So to everyone involved with the 150th all across our community, thank you so much. Alan, thanks for all the hard work that you put in coordinating all of this. I thought APAC did a fantastic job with the video. Janice, yes, your segment was fantastic and energetic, so I absolutely loved it. So everyone involved, thank you so much. It comes around once in a lifetime, and just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it turned out very nice. It turned out very nice.
All right. All right, thank you very much. So now on to the boring items we have on our normal agenda.
We have
First item, I'm sorry, go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, we do have one very exciting one, which is the next item.
I think, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I spoke too soon. So the next item is Catania Spagna proposed expansion for 1 Nemco Way.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chairman, it gives me great pleasure to introduce with us tonight. We have Mr. Anthony Vasili, who is the CEO of Catania Spagna. We have Mr. Mike Kodu, who is the CFO at Catania Spagna, and we have Ms. Lynn Tokarczyk of Business Development Strategies with us. And I'm going to turn it over momentarily to Lynn and Anthony, but I just want to say that we're pleased to have Catania Spagna here tonight. They want to make a presentation to the board about their company and an exciting proposed expansion that they're going to be working on, and an opportunity for the town and for the company to partner. And I just want to add that Catania Spagna has been a great member of our community and a great corporate citizen. Their support to all of our community efforts is greatly appreciated, but also their multi-million-dollar growth and investment in our town, as well as the jobs that they have provided, good paying jobs, and their willingness to stay and to continue to expand. So I think that's exciting. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, and I know that they do have a brief presentation for the shared screen. So we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. And first of all, yes, again, my name is Lynn Tokarczyk, and I am the Government Tax Incentives Consultant for Catania Oils. And I'd first like to thank the Select Board for inviting us here this evening. We're very grateful for that. We did meet last week with Robert Pompriant and his team. And thank you so much, Robert, for meeting with us. And we know it was on a tight timeline, but we do appreciate your interest and your kind words tonight, and your interest in attracting this potential proposed on-site expansion to the town of Ayer, and your interest to offer potential tax incentives. I believe you're in receipt, as it was shown on your website, of the company's incentives intent letter. So we have a very brief presentation, starting off with Tony Basile, who is, again, the CEO, and will be tag teaming it, and Mike Kutu, again, who is the CFO, basically in 3 segments: a very brief background and history of the company, and the company's proposed expansion plans, and then just their intent to apply for incentives. So thank you so much, and I'll turn it right over to Tony.
Okay, thank you all, Lynn. Thank you for all the officials in the town to inviting us. And Alan, if you have that parade, we'll put a shiny tank truck in the parade for you.
Ooh.
Think it'll look cool. Catania is proud to have our headquarters, our corporate headquarters in Ayer, Mass. Since 1994. We're a 4th generation family-owned manufacturer, founded well over 100 years ago. The company is one of the leading edible oil packers and processors in the country, family-owned, and we deal with a host of many oils. We blend oils together, organics and non-GMO oils. We serve customers in several divisions. We have a bulk division that sells to the ingredients customers. We have food service and retail. We also do private label, and we sell our own branded products. This is an example of some of our labels that you would find in the supermarket trade in the Northeast. You have vegetable oil, olive oil, extra virgin olive oil that you'll see in customers like Market Basket and Donlands and others. In our in our industrial department, you'll probably see a lot of these brands that are on the screen. These brands here. Some of the local brands that we deal with is Gorton's of Gloucester, Kent's Foods of Marlborough, Boston Coffee Cake, which is in Wilmington. No, I'm sorry, they're in, I forget where they are. But Terra Potato Chips, Arts Potato Chips in Pittsburgh. These are some of the customers that we service, and you probably have a lot of these products in your homes. And so you're using products, our product that is manufactured in Ayer. So the facility that we currently have in Ayer is 115,000 square feet, which is the home office at 3 NEMCO. We own 96,000 square feet on 1 NEMCO. And due to the increase in customer demand and new products that we are seeking to add to our list, we need extra space and extra accommodation for the trucks and the equipment that we plan on putting in site. Our location in Ayer has been a viable option, and we considered Ayer always, and we would like to stay in Ayer.
Great, I'm gonna jump in here, Mike Kutsu. Just a few touch points on the actual expansion potential. It's a 51,500 square foot additional manufacturing space for us. If you look at the map, it's a little tricky to see, but it's in that space between our facility and the Nasoya plant that's behind us. The key for us is this $14.4 million investment is the largest single capital improvement project that the company has done in its history. Most of it is the construction cost, the $6.3 million of construction costs. We have a fair amount of ever increasing infrastructure costs that need to be put forth between site improvements and internal improvements for our technology advancements and so on. And then the additional capacity of the space gives us the ability to put additional equipment inside, which is what we need to do in order to fuel our further growth and meet our customer demands. Tony mentioned earlier some of the customers that we have. For Catania Oils, that's our first pillar that we hold dear to our corporate mission. The second pillar is that of our employees. We currently have 160 full-time employees between the two facilities in Ayer, Mass. We have roughly 7 or 8 openings that we've been continuing to try to fill. Alan has done a great job working with our HR director and helping to recruit in the local area, including Ayer. This proposal over the next 2 to 5 years will, depending on how quickly we get the equipment inside and so on, we expect it to create additional 30 new permanent full-time jobs. Those jobs are, production line workers. They could be forklift drivers, maintenance technicians, folks that are in our quality control, but then also, supervisors and management staff and such. So it's a nice broad range of jobs that we need to add, primarily because it's sitting in the back of the property in terms of the building and such. So it stretches us out a little bit thinner. So we need to add those additional supervisors and such. It's not just going to be the production line worker type of job, which is great. We treat our employees, we feel very well when it comes to the salaries and benefits, including a tuition reimbursement program. I'll touch upon some of the other fun stuff that we do in a slide later, but it's just important to reiterate the employee aspect of what we do, and because we know it's the lifeblood of our operation. The picture here is something that we did. It was a $2.5 million expansion done about 3 years ago to create a centralized palletizing location for all of our production lines. That gave us the ability to fit in our little small footprint what we can do now. So that's just looks like a lot of metal there, but that's what it's for. And then the the interesting aspect of being in part of Ayer is the fact that, our employees shop locally. We spend quite a bit of time making our afternoon coffee runs to the Union Coffee House roastery down on Main Street. We try to establish working relationships with the companies that are in Ayer. JP, those guys that are clearing out our snow every snowstorm, which we'll probably see them in a few hours now that it's snowing. And then some of our company-wide pizza parties we do with Verona. So it's an interesting impact that we have, within the community. We do have several employees that live in the town of Ayer, so that's always an added interesting aspect for us. And then I mentioned the 3 pillars. That third pillar is community service. We spend a great deal of time, effort, and resources in the community of Ayer and its surrounding communities, just to try to be, not just be a good corporate citizen, but to actually take an earnest interest in the community. We do that through the support of the Ayer Police and Fire. We couldn't have our Christmas party this year because of COVID. Instead, we ended up by buying 8-pound prime rib roasts for every family to take home with them. And we made a special delivery to the Ayer Fire Department. So hopefully they had a good way to cook that in the kitchen. So, and hopefully they were able to enjoy it. And speaking of the holiday theme and such, we've been very happy sponsors of the holiday lights since 2015 in downtown. So there's those types of aspects that we try to engender in our employees, so that it helps to feed throughout the community. So we do quite a bit of work with local food pantries, providing them oil. We did a huge food drive a few years back for them. So it's just an interesting aspect that we feel is very important, because we feel as though our employees are part of the family, but also so is our community. And then I think one more aspect of that, sorry, I wanted to bring up because of the family aspect, but the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, we are the second longest running charity golf tournament for Dana-Farber, and it relates back to Tony's brother, who unfortunately lost his life 31 years ago now. And that long run of the golf tournament, 2020 would have been the moment that we would have reached the $1 million mark in funds donated to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So we're very much looking forward to getting back on the course, hopefully this fall, to jump over that level. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So on this next slide, so basically it's Lynn Tokarczyk again. And as you can see, the company has a great corporate culture. Certainly they're embedded in the town of Ayer and the community. So with this potential project, it could really assist a long-standing manufacturer in Ayer, and they are very proud to be one of the largest manufacturers in the town, by making further investments and commitments in the community. It would also, as a result of this estimated 51,500 square foot expansion, it would generate new real estate taxes for the town, bring in some additional, as well as new permit fees, vehicle excise taxes, because the company does have almost a couple dozen vehicles that are registered in Ayer, and they're paying vehicle excise tax. So that's most likely to increase as well as when everyone can get back to restaurants and the like. Hopefully we'll turn a corner soon on the pandemic, increasing local meals tax with dining out and the like. So on this particular slide, I really just wanted to focus on just the tax incentives. It's, as you know, the town of Ayer is very familiar with this program known as the Economic Development Incentive Program. The town has participated in this program over 10 times. Approximately 11 companies have benefited from this program through expansion projects in the town of Ayer. The town has participated in this program since the mid-90s, and then as recent as 2017. So essentially a TIF as you may know, is essentially a discount on future taxes. The town doesn't lose a dime on the existing taxes. And as Mike and Tony mentioned, they own property in the town, over 200,000 square feet that they are paying taxes, and they will continue to pay. So the only tax incentive that the company would be seeking would be on the additional 51,000 square feet. So again, it's a discount on future taxes. And you all know the criteria for this program is job creation, private real estate investment, which equals bringing new tax revenue to a municipality. And a TIF can be a minimum of 5 years, a maximum of 20 years, with an exemption in any given year, a minimum of 1%, a maximum of 100%. And as Tony and Mike mentioned, they've expanded many times from 2003, 2016, 2017. They've never requested a TIF before, so this would be their first time requesting a TIF on this estimated $14.4 million project. So we're hoping, as we met with Robert last week and Carly and the rest of the team, we're hoping to have discussions next week and keep the project moving forward. Eventually, as you know, it would need a recommendation by any TIF proposal, a recommendation by the select board, and then final approval by town meeting. And then eventually it would need to go to the state for final approval because this is a state program. So thank you for letting us share the Catania Oils project.
Excellent, thank you very much. Robert, do you mind, before I open up for questions, Janice, do you mind just kind of walking everyone through what the normal TIF process is?
Sure. Yep. So as the chair requested, and for everybody's benefit and the public's benefit, as Lynn had mentioned, so when a company approaches a town looking for a TIF, the TIF procedurally has to be approved, recommended by the select board to go on to the town meeting warrant, and ultimately town meeting has to approve the TIF. So what we have done in Ayer is the company has initially approached my office, which is sort of standard. We just had an initial meeting with Tony and Lynn's team, and our team is myself, the assistant town manager, Tom Hogan, the assessing administrator, and Alan Minoyan from economic development. We just had an initial discussion. The company wanted to approach the select board, as they did tonight, as other companies have had, to sort of give a general overview of not only their company, but the proposed project, and that they are, in full disclosure, looking for a TIF. In terms of next steps, with the will of the board, the town's team, as I mentioned, in Lynn and Tony's team, would then put together the details and the terms of the TIF. And so that's sort of the informal negotiation. And I would come back with the town's team to the select board with the proposal for the TIF. And of course, any questions that the select board may have. And then if the select board, it's the authority of the select board, decides to approve the recommendation of the TIF to town meeting, it would then appear on the town meeting warrant. And obviously at town meeting, there would be a presentation on the terms of the TIF. As we move forward, if we were to get to that point of town meeting, even in advance, any questions that the public may have, as well as information on the terms of the TIF, the impacts and so forth, would be available. So this is sort of the beginning of that process. And then, as Lynn mentioned, lastly, assuming the Ayer Town meeting approves the TIF, as Lynn mentioned, this is more of her forte, it also has to be approved by the state. But for our purposes, we're looking at, we would put together a proposal. We would bring that proposal to the select board. The select board then, if the select board agrees to move forward and put that before town meeting, and then we would go to town meeting. Town meeting approves it. Then it would go to the state to be certified. And that's more state. We've done our part at the town meeting phase, if you will. And then the TIF would go into effect upon approval by the state.
All right, thank you, Robert. Janice, do you have any questions?
No questions. It's just a very nice, positive thing to look forward to, especially with all we've been through with COVID and everything. So this is a very positive thing that can benefit the town. So I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. I do, again, thank you for your time in the presentation. If there are anyone in the public that has any questions, they can raise their hand. Okay. So thank you guys for coming this evening. Really appreciate it. And look forward to the next step in the process.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
everyone.
evening.
Thank you.
Take care.
Good night.
All right. Next item we have on the agenda is Alicia Hersey, Program Manager for Community Development Office.
Good evening.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi, how's everybody?
Finding you.
Good, thank you. So we're just updating you from the Affordable Housing Committee on the work they're doing. As you, I don't know if people remember, but in the fall town meeting, we, the town residents approved Affordable Housing Trust. And that was just the initial approval of the trust. And from there, we needed to put together some bylaws, which will be presented to the Springtown meeting. So the Affordable Housing Committee has been working on, for the last 3 or 4 months, putting those bylaws together, making sure that they look good. And we've submitted them to the town manager's office, and I understand that they've submitted them to KP Law for review at this point. We just wanted to update you on what's happening with that, and let people know that there's going to be a public input session at February 24th, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And that will be posted, and that will be Zoom, of course. And we will have one more public input session for anybody who wants to talk about it at the end of March, and then it should be ready to go on the warrant. The other thing that we're doing is we're putting together a schedule for when we need to get trust members. And after the town meeting in the fall, we had a number of people reach out to us and say, hey, this is something I'm interested in. So we started creating a list of people who are interested, but we understand that you, the select board, usually like us to put out a posting on that. So we will take part in that too, but that will come after we finish with the bylaws and seeing that the town passes the bylaws and are an improvement of those. Did you have any questions for us on this? This is just an update for what we're doing.
I don't have any questions, Janice.
No, I can't think of any.
Okay.
A little bit of an outline of what we're suggesting is that it'll be a 7-member trust, that we're asking for a select board member, we're asking for a member from the planning board, from the CPC, and also from the Affordable Housing Committee. And then there'll be three to four. Now, that's not required, but it's suggested. So there'll be 3 to 4 members at large from the community. So, and if anybody's interested or has questions, please come out March 24th. And if you have any questions, anybody can call our office. Alan's my office, and we'll be happy to answer them. Or I know that Ken Disk is on, and he's a member of the Affordable Housing Committee. And Janet Pravadakis is our chair, and they're all happy to answer questions. So feel free to call them as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Night.
All right. Up next on the agenda, we have Mark Wetzel, Superintendent, Department of Public Works. Evening, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Can't hear you, Mark.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
It doesn't say you're muted, but we can't hear you.
Well, he's got the glasses on now.
He means business.
It may
Still can't hear you.
I experienced this myself. He may have joined without the audio on. I did that myself mistakenly last week. Yeah, he didn't join with the audio.
That ain't better?
There
There
it is.
you go.
Oh, there you are.
Okay. Well, thank you. So we have a few items tonight. Luckily, we got to cross one off so we can speed through. The first item was finalizing the street opening and driveway accessway permit regulations. So you may recall on January 19th, I presented the draft regulations, and then we posted them on the town website for review and comment, due by Friday, February 5th. Thank you both Dan Van Chalkwick and Ken Diskin for giving me some great comments. They did some good proofreading and fixed some inconsistencies. There weren't any major changes other than cleaning some stuff up. So I am requesting approval of the regulations by the board. And this is for the street opening permit regulations and the driveway accessway permit regulations.
Any questions, Janice?
No, I can't think of any. I mean, did you find that people were confused about what you were trying to do?
I responded to a couple people who had questions that were wondering why we need to do this. You know, someone commented, it seems like a new way to raise revenue. We're not really changing anything except updating things and formalizing things and making it a little clearer. I think the old road opening bylaw was from the mid 80s, and obviously the road repair and traffic safety and those issues have all changed over time. And just from experience, there's things that we need to tighten up a little bit, and that's primarily what these did. So I don't think the people really understood that this was just an update from an old regulation. It's not anything that's super new. It's just cleaning up some things and making it a little cleaner for and the fees, we changed some of the fees primarily because you know, we had a flat fee for every road opening before. And so we may have like National Grid digging a trench down 2 or 3 streets and they're paying the same fee as if they're digging a hole in front of someone's house. So so we revised the fees so that it is on a per square yard basis. There's a flat fee for a certain size, and then above that it goes up. So those are the primary changes.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't
That
have
would be
any
my
other
only
questions.
question.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve the street opening and driveway accessway permit regulations as updated and presented.
Seconded?
Roll call the vote. Select person Livingston.
Aye.
Chair says aye, it's passed.
Great, thank you. The next item is the execution of the contract for the wastewater treatment plant alum flow pacing improvement project. This was something that the EPA required us to do. What we have a limit on how much phosphorus we can discharge into the Nashua River, and so the way we control that, we have some processes. Basically, we have what's called an anoxic tank, which uses bacteria to eat some of the nutrients. And then we have, then we add this alum chemical that coagulates, which basically means it combines, it clumps it into a bigger solid. And then that gets removed in a cloth filter. What we found was we were having some violations, primarily because we have different levels of phosphorus coming into the plant, but we're feeding the same amount of alum every time. So sometimes we have too much alum, sometimes we don't have enough alum. So we were starting to see more exceedances of our limit. So we met with the EPA and they required us to do this. So basically what we're doing is putting in some chemical feed pumps that measure how much flow is coming into the plant and then feeds the proper amount of alum. And so we designed the project, put it out to bid, and we had 4 bids ranging from $97,500 to $135,000. The low bidder was Weston and Sampson CMR, and they've done a number of projects in town. So we recommend that the board execute the contract with Weston and Sampson CMR Inc. for $97,500, and that's for signature by the board.
Okay. Any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions here either.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that the select board execute the contract of the air wastewater treatment facility alum flow pacing improvements, contract number 21 DPW05 with Weston and Sampson CMR Incorporated as presented.
I will second. Roll call the vote. Select Person Livingston.
Aye.
Chair says aye. It is passed.
Thank you. So the next item is change order number 1 for the Spectacle Pond Well 1 replacement project. As you're probably aware, we're building a new PFAS treatment plant down at Spectacle Pond, and it's a pretty tight site there. And so we were trying to work around the existing well, and then as we were doing some well maintenance, we discovered that there was some holes rusted in the well casing. And so we were going to have to repair it anyway. And in addition, the well had been plugged up pretty well with the iron and manganese down there. So it worked more cost effectively to put in what we call a replacement well. So we're basically putting in a more efficient well about 50 feet from the existing well. So that project is all done, but when we started to connect into the existing water main, we discovered that the existing main was an older pipe, and if we went a little bit further out, we could tie into the main transmission main. So we had the contractor do that extra work. It was $9,452, which increases the contract to $271,452. And that's for signature by the chair.
All right. Any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay.
Um,
I'll make a motion that the select board approve change order number 1 for the Spectacle Pond Well 1A replacement with Dancrest Builders Incorporated in the amount of $9,420 for signature by the chair.
Seconded.
Select Person Livingston.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Approved.
Great, thank you. So the next item is the Grove Pond PFAS treatment plant facility change order number 2. Basically, this is kind of a cleanup change order. There was one change order that got missed early in the project. There was some changes to the electrical grounding system, and don't ask me why or what it was involved, but the electrical inspector wanted something different, so we went ahead and did that. And then we also cleaned up in the first change order, number 1. We had some estimated costs in there, and when we got all the final costs in, it came in lower. So this kind of balances everything out, and it's a credit for the amount of $17,957. So that will reduce the contract amount by that much.
Okay.
Who was that one with again? I don't see this one in the packet.
I might not have had I don't think I had the information in the packet because I was waiting for it. Well, I sent everything in a week early. So basically it's.
Oh, here I see a paragraph about it. Okay, thank you.
And it's with the contract is with Winston Builders Corporation.
Okay.
Okay, I found it. All right. I have no questions.
Okay, yeah, neither do I.
Okay. I make a motion that the select board approve change order 2 for the Grove Pond Water Treatment Plant PFAS Treatment Facility Project with the total change order credit amount of $17,957, and this is with Winston Builders Corp.
I will second. Select Person Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair says aye. It's passed.
Right, thanks. And at some point, it would be good to do a tour. I'll probably do a virtual tour of the plant and post it online, but it's pretty impressive. They did a really nice job, and we're getting really good PFAS removals. We test it every month, and so far so good.
Good.
The next item is change order number 2 for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project. This is for additional work on the fire alarm system. When we started putting the fire alarm system in, and we're figuring out how to connect it to the communications to the fire department, we had to make some additional changes to that. So this change order is for $12,378, and the contractor is Winston Builders Corporation.
Okay. Any questions?
I have none.
Okay, I don't have any either.
I'll make a motion that the select board approve change order number 2 for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade project in the amount of $12,378 with Winston Builders Corp. Signature by the board.
I will second. Select Person Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chair says aye. It's passed.
Thank you. And last is the, I proposed the addition of 2 staff to the water and wastewater enterprise funds. And I put information in the budget and presented this to the Water and Sewer Rate Committee, but I wanted to present it to the selectmen also and talk a little bit about why I think these positions are important. So the water and wastewater divisions, we provide drinking water to 95% of the town and wastewater to about 90% of the town. The budgets, the water budget's 2.34 million, and wastewater is 3.37 million. So you can see it's a pretty big operation. We have 11 total staff. The water system is 5 wells and 2 water treatment plants, and we also have 2 water storage tanks. The wastewater system consists of 18 wastewater pumping stations scattered throughout town, and then we have an advanced or tertiary wastewater treatment plant, which is pretty unique for a town this size. Next slide. And one of the big issues with why this position is important is that we're highly regulated. Everything we do has to be approved by either the Massachusetts DEP or the EPA. We have licensed operators at all the plants, and we have to have a certain level of license, and that requires taking tests. It requires continuing education, and so we have very qualified staff, and they're getting more and more difficult to find people with those qualifications. We also have to do we do monthly chemical usage reports, water quality reports, and flow reports. We do monthly and quarterly PFAS sampling and reporting. We also do monthly bacteria sampling throughout the town. We have to do lead and copper testing, and that's done by the residents. We drop off bottles. They have to take a sample first thing in the morning, what we call a first draw sample, and then we have that tested, and then we have to compile all the information, and we send out the results to everybody who takes a sample, and we have to do that twice a year. We do an annual water quality report. We have to file with the state an annual water statistics report, which is about I think it's about 50 or 60 pages long. It's pretty complicated. We also regulate a number of industries in town with their wastewater discharge has an industrial pretreatment permit. So we have to do an annual pretreatment report, which ends up being a pretty lengthy document. We just completed our annual sewer collection system report. And then every year Mass DEP does sanitary site inspections to make sure that all of our facilities meet their requirements, and actually have an EPA virtual meeting next week to do an audit of our industrial pretreatment program. It's a 2-day audit. So the operations management, and these are some of the tasks that a water and sewer superintendent would be involved in. Looking at the daily, weekly, and monthly work tasks, who's doing what, when. We have a computer maintenance and management system that we use, but not to its fullest extent. But basically that we input all the assets of the water and wastewater treatment plants, and then whenever we do maintenance, we put the cost and the time involved in it. We have preventive maintenance in there with scheduled maintenance. We manage the budgets. As I said, they're pretty big town budgets, so we go through them every month and look at where are we on each line item. I haven't added up the total for capital projects, but I think last time I put it in my head, I think we were about $10 million with the PFAS projects and the wastewater treatment plant. So we have some major capital projects, as well as we do water mains and sewer upgrades. Again, we have a number of regulatory reports and compliance, construction oversight on the capital projects. Emergency response is critical to our operation. You can see what's going on down in Texas. There's 12 million people in Texas without potable water. So we have a pretty detailed emergency response plan and training. And we also spent the other day up on Mulberry Circle fixing a water main break, which does happen. We've done a lot with energy management of the systems, because the water and wastewater plants are the biggest energy users in town. And then we have to procure all of our services, equipments, and materials. And so that takes a fair amount of time to do the procurement process. Next slide, please. So why is this position needed? We have an aging infrastructure. We have a lot of capital improvements and increased maintenance. We spend right now $250,000 a year replacing water mains, and we're just scratching the surface of what really needs to be done. And like I said, we're repairing leaks and breaks on water mains. We have increased regulatory requirements and reporting, and we have an aging workforce. Luckily, in the water department, we've got some good young operators recently, and but the wastewater department has some pretty seasoned workers. We have capital and operating budget management. One of the things we're looking at, because of the potential for not having qualified operators at wastewater, is do we have to look at contract operations and bringing an outside company to run it? How do we optimize the operations, and what grant funding is available? It's also public outreach has become a big part of the job, just letting people know what we're doing, why we're doing it. I get probably at least one call a week, if not 2 or 3. Why is my water dirty? I saw that there's PFAS in the water. What do I do about it? And so it takes a lot of time to go through that, plus our normal communications. Next slide, please. So for the, and I call the position the DPW Assistant Superintendent for Water and Wastewater. So I went through for the budget purposes, the grading plan for the position, and came up with that based on my understanding of the grading plan criteria, that would be a grade 14 which would be between 85,000 and 108,000, which is pretty close to what I've seen for similar positions advertised in the area. Next slide. So the other position is the assistant water and sewer billing clerk. Right now, and I put up their proposed part-time, I think it would be 19 hours a week, because then it is not a benefited position. But right now, our business manager, Pam Martin, she probably spends about 30 hours a week doing water and sewer billing. So it really cuts into her time. And there's a lot of other things that she could be doing that the water and sewer billing takes away from. So, and also we don't have any other backup people. So if for some reason she was out for an extended period of time, we'd be hard pressed to get the bills out. I wouldn't say we couldn't do it, but it's not something that someone is really trained and thoroughly familiar with. So that's why this position is recommended. It would be paid through the Water and Wastewater Enterprise Fund budgets. We send out about 1,200 bills a month, and the revenue that generates is about 5.7 million per year. And looking at the grade classifications, this would be a grade 3 between 21.28 and 27.19 per hour. So the next steps in this is to evaluate the impacts of the position on the water and sewer rates, and I've given that information to the town accountant, and I know she's factoring it into the rate structures. Then the rate review committee would review and recommend support of the positions. I have included a number in the FY22 budgets, and then that would be approved by the Select Board and Finance Committee.
Janice, any questions?
No, but just so for your information, the rate review committee meets next Tuesday. So
Okay.
we'll have more info. And then whatever, we talk about, I'll be able to brief at the next meeting too. So the positions are needed. I think I talked about this, about a month ago for an update. And I'm for the positions. As I stated before, I am cautious also due to the situation we're in, but long-term it benefits the town. So I think that this is a good thing. So, we'll have more information the next time we meet.
One thing I should point out is, so my contract as superintendent is up at the end of June, and I think I've reached the retirement age. So I probably spend 75% of my time on water and sewer stuff. It's my expertise. I've been doing water and wastewater work for 40 plus years. And so I think in the transition, there will be some lacking of the expertise that I provide also. So that's why another reason why this position would be a strong position is to kind of fill in that slot. And I've also, talked to Robert about that. I'd be willing to work on the transition of hiring and training the new person.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I know it sits within the enterprise fund, so the rate review committee will look at it before it comes before us for recommendation. So thank you, Mark. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
All right, awesome.
Thank you, Mark.
Very much. All right, next item on the agenda we have is the town manager's report. I'll turn it over to Robert.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Selectman Livingston. I hope all is well. The first item is under the administrative update. Everything at this time of year is all things budget and all things town meeting in terms of preparation. In the interest of time, because I do have some action items I'd like to get to in terms of the administrative update, things are moving forward, and I encourage, the select board is aware of this, but I encourage the public as well. under the town manager's webpage on the website, all departments submit a monthly report on their various activities and so forth. So it's a great opportunity for the public also to see what each of the departments are doing. So in the interest of time, I'd encourage folks to check out the January reports, and the February reports will be coming soon because there is a lot of things happening. In terms of the COVID, and I just want to point out that the warrants that were approved since the board last met on February 2nd are also in your packet. The second item, the COVID-19 update, just briefly, things remain relatively status quo since the board last met on February 2nd. That's not necessarily a bad thing as we continue to stay the course during this pandemic. Ayer, like many communities in Massachusetts, remains classified as red, as a high-risk community. Many of our communities out here and frankly across the Commonwealth are at that designation by Mass DPH. Right now, the efforts are now focusing towards the deployment of the COVID-19 vaccine. And as everyone is aware, there are frustrations and challenges starting at the federal level, the state level, and of course here on the local level. The Neshoba Boards of Health did do a successful regional first responders vaccine clinic in Boxborough, which all of our first responders, fire, police, EMTs participated in. And they were also starting some clinics at Devon's for the over 75 population coordinated through the COAs. As I said to the board at the last meeting, I participated in a meeting with my 16 colleagues regarding three major issues we were frustrated with. One is the issue of parity on vaccine distribution. Because we're in a regional board of health with 17 communities, we would only receive 100 doses a week, whereas another town, let's say Acton or Concord, that has an independent board of health would receive the same 100. So one of our concerns was this equity issue. The second concern is, as I mentioned, when you look at the DPH map for large-scale vaccination sites, as one of my colleagues referred to it, it was a vaccine desert between Fitchburg, Leominster, and Gardner and Lowell, all of the towns of North Central Mass. Was no regional vaccine center. And then the third point was to just really push the advocacy to get more vaccine to the local level. That's the great limiting factor. At 100 vaccines a week for 17 towns, it'll take forever. Now, since then, there's been some progress that folks have seen. We did put together a letter from all 16 of the town managers and town administrators to the governor and the Secretary of Health and Human Services, advocating for a regional vaccine center to be located on Devon's. And this was copied to all of the state delegation, legislative delegation, and to Congresswoman Trahan, who's aware of the issue and is concerned. No sooner did we issue that letter, which the board does have, yesterday it was issued from the state, new criteria for regional clinics, which require that a regional clinic has to do about 750 vaccines a day, 5 days a week. And if it's regional, it can't exclude the state. So it's open to the whole state, not just the region. That sort of threw a curveball towards our initial letter. So we're actually meeting again tomorrow to discuss how we can continue to move in a direction to get a regional vaccination site for North Central Mass to be located at Devon's. And so we'll continue to keep the board updated. As you probably also saw, since the changes on the state level, the local clinic that Neshoba was doing is going to stop. But I want to stress the folks that got their first dose there are guaranteed their second dose there. But we are very frustrated and concerned that of some of these changes on the regional level. So we will keep the select board updated. The good news is that all 16 of our towns are united on this. Our entire state delegation is, as is Neshoba Boards of Health and Congresswoman Trahan. So, I mean, our goal is collaboratively, we have the resources to do a regional clinic and to maximize this. So we will keep folks updated. In the meantime, it's been status quo, as I said, and that is working over the last 11 months. We have not had a major COVID-19 infection amongst our workforce, nor amongst any of our boards and committee members. And we will continue to keep the board updated as we move forward on that. The next item is the FY22 non-union cost of living COLA recommendation. And just for the public's benefit, each year I make a recommendation, and we'll talk about that process, to the select board regarding a cost of living recommendation for all of the non-union employees, which also includes the call firefighters and the elected officials that receive a stipend. That recommendation, if accepted by the select board, then is incorporated into the omnibus budget, but it's ultimately subject to approval by town meeting in two ways. Salaries for elected officials on those stipends has its own article, is subject to town meeting approval. And in the omnibus, we clearly indicate in the omnibus budget and on the warrant specifically what the COLA recommendation is, so that the public is aware of that recommendation. And I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Johnston, the benefits and payroll manager, through the select board chair, to just briefly go over the memo that the select board has. This is consistent with what we have been doing since the town manager form of government. He'll talk about the metrics used, and for everybody's benefit, because, and I do get this question, we don't just pull a random number out of the sky when we recommend it. And he'll go through that, and then we'll talk about what the recommendation is for tonight and answer any questions. So Mr. Chair, through you, I'll just turn it briefly over to Kevin.
Yeah, sure. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we did conduct the research for the half a dozen or so metrics that we use for the annual COLA recommendation, including the Consumer Price Index. The most recent report came out just last week at 0.5% in the last year. The Federal Reserve Bank of Boston CPI increase of 2.1% through December. And then we surveyed local communities, and of those communities that abut Ayer and one or two towns over, the survey is a little bit incomplete, as some haven't decided what their COLA is going to be yet, but we have one community at less than 2%, which is Stowe, 7 communities that are at 2%, including neighboring towns of Lancaster, Lunenburg, Ashby, Berlin, Bolton, Clinton, and Dunstable. And then 3 communities less than 2%, Harvard, Townsend, and Shirley, all based on decisions that were made with their employee groups. And I misspoke earlier. There's one community over 2%, and that is the town of Stowe. The Massachusetts Municipal Human Resources Association keeps a record of all communities and what their COLA is. And those communities that completed are very few, but there are statewide in this record 2 communities more than 2, 17 are at 2, which includes some of the communities that are neighbors of ours, and 8 communities that are less than 2%. And the last 2 bits of information are the Social Security benefits for calendar year 2021 are increasing 1.3%, and the collective bargaining agreements for all of our collective bargaining units that have contracts in place see 2% COLA increases for each for fiscal 21. So I know that's a lot of information relatively quickly, but we did keep the same half a dozen metrics that we have been using for the past 5 or 6 years to come up with the information provided to the town manager for your consideration tonight. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Kevin. And then just to conclude, tied into that metrics to quantify it, the recommendation to the select board is for a 2% COLA for FY22 for all non-union employees, call firefighters, and elected official stipends. And just to quantify that for the public, there are 22 non-union positions. There are 7 elected official stipends, and there are 21 call firefighters. And the finance manager has calculated that the budgetary impact to the omnibus for the 2% would be approximately $40,000.
So Kevin, I have a question. So on the memo, it has the consumer price index for Boston, Cambridge, Newton is 0.7%, but then the Federal Reserve has it at 2.1. That's a large disparity. Is there any explanation for that?
So I do have some background information there. The Consumer Price Index rates lots of different sectors of the economy in their aggregate total, including some of those sectors that have seen significant decreases because directly related to COVID. And I want to say that some of those, I'm trying to grab my reference here for you. Some of those include decreases, significant decreases in energy and recreation, 5.6% decrease in recreation, a 4.7 decrease in apparel. And they do have a caveat in the Bureau of Labor Statistics that their data is incomplete because they don't have the resources that are generally available during their data collection effort. There's a caveat on the report that speaks specifically to that, and they expect that in the next several months they'll get back to be able to collecting all of the data points that they generally use in their calculations. The Federal Reserve, on the other hand, has followed the same protocols they have. They don't have a lot of explanation there in their calculation, except that they say they were able to follow the same data collection effort that they had in previous years to come up with their 2.1% increase. Another interesting note is that there is a separate metric in and of itself that speaks specifically to wage increases. And in the Boston area, that number is right around 3%. In a wage increase survey for the metropolitan Boston area. It's not as specific as the Consumer Price Index is in that it's painted more broadly, but that's another metric that we haven't used in the past, but it's specific to wage increases.
Thank you. Any questions, Janice?
I have none.
So Robert, the recommendation you said is a 2% COLA?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to recommend or approve a 2% COLA for non-union employees for the town of Ayer.
Seconded.
Select Person Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chairperson says aye. It's passed.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, in terms of next steps, this will be built into the budget. It's still subject to approval by town meeting in 2 forms. The elected officials stipends has its own article per state law. And then the omnibus clearly indicates the COLA, the amount and so forth, as does the warrant article. So the next step will be at town meeting. And I thank the board for your consideration and Kevin for putting together all of the metrics. The next item, just briefly for the board, and I know I have at least one guest with me on the Zoom platform who's Mr. Rich Scotchless, who many of you know, and I might have, it's hard to tell with all the names and numbers, Miss Ginny Matthews. Both are trustees of the Woodlawn Cemetery. And what I wanted to talk to the board about this evening is the Woodlawn Cemetery is a huge asset to the town of Ayer. And for the public's benefit, I think everybody drives by it and knows where it is, but it's the cemetery just past Wendy's as you're approaching Alltown, approaching Harvard. It's a very historic cemetery and an active cemetery. It was incorporated under the trustees, independent from the town, as far back as 1838. And even before that was used as a burial ground, and it's on both sides of the road. And it is at a gateway to the town of Ayer. It is an active cemetery with a lot of rich history. It also has a special designated veterans portion to it. And the trustees of the Woodlawn Cemetery have done an excellent job through the decades as custodians of the cemetery. And the trustees approached me just before COVID with a request that they would like to transfer the cemetery over to the town of Ayer. So it would become the property of the town of Ayer, and it would be under the care and custodialship of the town of Ayer moving forward. And the reasons for that, I mean, the trustees, and using some of their own, where they are getting to a point towards retiring, the trustees have found that their capacity, and they've done an excellent job, but the capacity to maintain it and to operate it for a small independent board is a challenge. Changes in burial practices and so forth have also affected the finances of it. And so the trustees approached me and would like to move in a direction to transfer this Woodlawn Cemetery ultimately to the town of Ayer. Because we know that regardless, it's our responsibility as to care and be care and custodian for the cemetery. Secondly, we would never let it go into disrepair. Nobody would. Also, it's a historic asset to the town. It's a key gateway to the town. So we want to obviously keep it moving forward. And in the master plan process, our master plan did identify the issue of a town or a municipal cemetery as one of the objectives. Interestingly, the town of Ayer is one of few towns that doesn't have a, if you will, a municipally run or owned cemetery. So with that said, the transfer is governed by a two-part process. And the first part, just like with the acquisition of real property, which we're all becoming experts on, requires an act of town meeting. So town meeting would have to authorize the select board to proceed with the transfer and the acquisition with the board of trustees of the Woodlawn Cemetery. So that would be the first phase. With that approval, then the select board, through your departments and through me, would do all of the required work and due diligence to complete that transfer. It's important to note that the transfer would include, besides the property, the transfer would also include all of the personal property, equipment, and so forth affiliated with Woodlawn. And a point that Ms. Cabri has been working on also is there is some funds that would also be transferred to the town of Ayer. There are the funds that the Woodlawn Cemetery currently has, as well as some of the perpetual grave funds and so forth. So we have just begun to do that due diligence, but the request on the timeline would be to bring forth the question of the transfer to the town meeting in April and get the approval of the town meeting. And with that approval, then we could move forward with the acquisition. Now, there's no question that there will be cost impacts to the town, but there are also revenue opportunities as well. What I'm getting at is, if successfully transferred, the town would be responsible for the maintenance and operation of the cemetery. And on the flip side, because the cemetery has additional capacity for full burials as well as cremains and other functions, that revenue, if transferred, would also come to the town. So for the purposes of tonight, I wanted to sort of just provide a general overview of sort of the plan to the board, and ultimately where the board, controls the warrant, that we would be in a position in April to propose to town meeting the transfer of the cemetery to the town. And that would, of course, include a presentation on what that would involve. And so I wanted to start that discussion publicly with the board. And as I mentioned, I know that Mr. Scotchless is on, and Miss Matthews I think is as well. And they are both have been involved, and are both trustees of the Woodlawn. If there are any questions through the chair, or if anything I missed that they would like to add.
Thank you, Robert. I guess the big question I have is just how the operations would work under the town, like which department would be responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. We see it impacting three potential departments. The main one in terms of operations and maintenance would be the Department of Public Works. The maintenance piece, our folks do a lot of that. I mean, this would be added, but the maintenance part. The grave digging, the burials, that would be a new component that would most likely be under the Department of Public Works. Mr. Wetzel and I have discussed perhaps initially in a transition. For example, Woodlawn uses various contractors at this time. That's another option. We could, as we bridge into it, use their contractors, a hybrid of it. So operations would be the DPW. That would also include, logically, there's the issue of sale of graves, if you will. I'm just, at this time, would probably fall under the Department of Public Works. The other two departments, of course, involved in this already is the finance manager, obviously, the funds that would come in the management of that, and it would become part of the town's, ultimately the town's budget and revenue and so forth. And then I'm pretty sure we're looking to verify this with town council, but there may be a requirement under the statute that the burial records for a municipally run cemetery may have to reside ultimately with the town clerk. But the big takeaway, and that hasn't been confirmed yet. I think the big piece is the maintenance and the operation would fall under the DPW. The financial piece, obviously, under the financial departments in the town. And perhaps there's a transition where we use some of the, contractors as we move into that. And that's part of our due diligence. In talking with Woodlawn, and I know some of them are on here, it's something they would like to do, would like to move in this direction. Obviously, it's not like it's going to cease tomorrow. What we envision is the first part, the town meeting authorization, do the due diligence and get it in place.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Janice?
No, I think you asked the question I was going to ask.
And Mr. Chair, not to put them on the spot, and if I miss something, but I know Mr. Scotchless, Miss Matthews are on the meeting call. Rich or Ginny, did you want to add anything, or did I miss anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I think you did a very well presentation, and it covered just about all the bases. Our biggest thing is everybody's being cremated, and full burials are going away. So the money is not really coming in for us. And we've moved money around and everything. And our landscaper that cuts the grass and everything has been very, very good with us. So we're trying to hang in there, and eventually we're gonna go belly up. And I wanted to get this to the town before anything like that happens. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from anyone on on the meeting? No? Okay, thank you, Robert.
Okay, and we'll continue to keep the board and the public updated. And last but not least, but very briefly, on the FY22 budget and annual town meeting update, a couple of things. We have just finished draft number 2 of the omnibus, and we had a by-board meeting earlier today. We will be transmitting draft number 2 to the FinCom and to the Select Board, and it will be available for the public under the 2022 budget webpage on the town's website. We'll get that up. Things are moving in the right direction. As I mentioned to the buy board, we were at about 4.9% increase with draft 1. We're now at about 2.9%, or about a $465,000 increase over last year. When you receive the omnibus budget, and I want to thank Ms. Gabri. She has prepared a 1-page summary that will clearly show to the boards and to the public what changed from draft 1 to draft 2 with those notes as we move through this process. I just want to point out that a major addition to the budget, omnibus budget, was we added the $150,000 to the reserve fund on recommendation of the Select Board and the FinCom after we had those discussions, increasing it to $300,000 for one time due to COVID. Some of the major reductions, health insurance, the good news is we got the health insurance number last Friday. There's about a 3.1% increase. We had budgeted for a 12% increase based on past history. We've had in the past some significant increases. With that number coming in at 3.1%, we were able to reduce that health insurance budget by $207,000. Also, in the police budget, we were able to reduce $200,000. That's from the regional dispatch grant for the regional dispatch we have. And the Select Board will actually be reviewing and approving the new intermunicipal agreement at your March 2nd meeting, and your colleagues in Shirley will be doing it on March 1st. So those were some of the major reductions. And then you'll see on the summary sheet, we often use this term, we scrub the budget. We've itemized, and again, a special thanks to Ms. Gabri, you'll see those adjustments. So we continue to move, I think, in a good direction this will be draft 2, and as we look towards draft 3. You'll also see on the summary sheet some of the major outstanding issues. One of them right now, as we can at least check that box subject to town meeting, was the COLA for the non-union. There is the police patrol and dispatch contract negotiations. On that contract, there are 2 personal service contracts. The library state certification level, there is the opportunity for a significant savings in the reduction in the town council line. And Ms. Antonellis is working on getting sort of some more final numbers on the various general insurance numbers, which is normal for this timeline. We usually get them end of February, beginning of March. Finally, as the board is aware, the 2 regional school assessments have come in, the ASRSD last week, and then the Neshoba Valley Tech prior to that. Both of the assessments, in my opinion and experience, are favorable, are within our parameters compared to some past years. That information will also be available on the 2022 budget webpage. So the major pieces of the budget begin to fall into place. I just also want to make a shout out that the 2nd public budget forum for the public will be on March 8th at 6 p.m. on Zoom. That's a joint meeting of the Select Board and FinCom. We're going to start promoting that for the public to attend, and also promoting, if folks can't make it or folks don't want to ask a question or aren't comfortable asking a question, to submit your questions in advance. And the questions we receive that night after the Select Board and the FinCom offer their input and questions. We'll go through those questions as well. So we really want March 8th to be an opportunity to inform the public, but to answer the public's questions. And as we said at the buy board, the focus on March 8th is going to be more specific to the budget, the FY22 budget that folks are going to see at town meeting. The one we did on the 27th, as we did last year, is a larger 50,000 foot view of the budget. This will have some more specifics. Finally, related to that, the annual town meeting, the deadline for warrant articles and citizens petitions are Friday, April 2nd. We're looking to have the select board approve the warrant per the budget calendar on April 6th. We're in the process of putting together the first draft of that warrant. As of right now, there are approximately 26 articles. The majority of those articles are pretty standard ones that we see every year. Some of the potential new ones based on discussion tonight, potential subject to select board approval, would be the transfer article for the cemetery, if the Catania Spagna TIF potentially, but we'll continue to keep folks updated as that process moves forward. So I don't know if there are any questions from the board on the budget or town meeting, but we'll be discussing it quite a bit as we move forward, and I'll have another update on March 2nd at your next meeting. And that concludes my report, and I want to thank the board for your time and opportunity this evening.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions, Janice, on any of that?
Nope.
No? Okay, neither do I. Thank you. All right, so next item we have is new business selectmen's questions, which we don't have anything on the agenda though. I do just want to kind of throw out that I know like with COVID, we've not really been able to do some of the fun stuff that we've done in the past with recognizing people with the sesquicentennial, I think I got that right, in Will McDonald's Eagle Scout project. I do want to start trying to re-engage with the Scouts and recognizing some of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts for their achievements over the last year or so. I am going to reach out to the Scoutmasters here in town for the Boy Scouts, and on the Girl Scout side, you know, if there's any girls who have achieved their silver award or their gold award, please reach out. I'd love to recognize them. And the next item we have is the approval of meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2021. I reviewed them, didn't have any changes or edits.
I had no issues. Excuse me.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion that the board approve the meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2021 as presented in the packet.
I will second. Select Person Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
Chairperson says aye. Those are approved. And next item is the motion for adjournment. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Sarah, what can we do for you?
I was wondering when the Woodlawn Cemetery is going to come back to this meeting. Is it a hearing or just updates?
Mr. Chairman, to Ms.
Please.
Withy's question, I envision this coming up under my report to several meetings leading up to town meeting as we move forward on this. We will also be prepared to do a presentation at town meeting on this. And I will probably, as I usually do with the second budget presentation, I do a brief highlight on some of the unique articles, if you will, and probably touch upon this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right.
And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn at 6:40 p.m.
I will second. Select Person Livingston, how do you vote?
Aye.
And the chairperson says aye. We're adjourned for the evening. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.